And here's the thing, is it the BBC that need defunding? 0344 499 1000. So BBC One, there's a couple of stories here. BBC One sunk to a new ratings low this last week. 840,000 people tuned in to watch a peak time programme. The overnight ratings for Make Me Famous, which was shown last Thursday, are the lowest on record for the 9 p.m. slot on BBC's main channel. That was the BBC trying to be cool. Get Reggie in there. That's what we need to do. What could go wrong? Well, he's not box office. Not sure about his writing capabilities either. Not quite sure why someone thought he was naturally going to turn over the goods. He's okay, by the way. This was the BBC attempting, and this is the big story here, to hoover up the youth vote, to hoover up younger viewers. This was the BBC yet again tying itself in knots to come to terms with some uncomfortable decisions about how to go forward. And of course, this all comes on the day that the BBC has just announced 450 job cuts in local TV and radio. The regions are getting a kicking, some would say not before time. 7 of the 20 presenters on their 6:30 regional news program. Everyone knows their regional news program, don't they? It's funny, when you go to another part of the country, you turn the TV on and go, oh, look, it's just like ours, but slightly different. Different presenter. We all have that same moment. Nonetheless, 7 of those 20 presenters will be going. Regional TV bulletins will be cut. Some local radio shows will be axed, and the cuts are expected to save £25 million by 2022 and follow news of job losses in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. The BBC has previously said it needs to save totally £125 million this year because of financial pressures resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. Let's cut to the chase here, because this is ultimately all about chasing the youth vote or the youth viewer or listener. And this is the problem the BBC have. They now do not know who they are. They no longer know where they are going. They've kind of lost their USP. Their broadcasting mojo is out of the window. They are rudderless, cast out into the wilderness by multi-platform TV and from the commercial sector, and of course an online choice of entertainment and current affairs that can be heard and watched elsewhere, sometimes for free. Here's a fact to take home with you, by the way. We often talk about the TV licence and how we either redefine it, reduce it, some would say abolish it. So the TV licence, just keep this one under your belt, all right? They spend £115 million a year, £115 million a year collecting the TV licence. Not spending it, but the sheer cost involved in collecting it is over £115 million. That's the national debt of some small countries, by the way. Now, Lord Reith, he was the founder back in the day of the BBC, said the corporation's job is to inform, educate and entertain. This is true, and for many years it did just that. In 1922, when they first broadcast, that no one else on the block back then. Digital TV and smartphone capability was almost a century away. Amazon was a jungle in South America. Sky was something you saw when you looked upwards. And Netflix was something people did with their curtains to spy on the neighbours. Today, it's another kind of jungle out there with more choices than any one human could watch in several lifetimes. Some of it for free, some you pay for. But here's the crucial point. It's your choice whether you pay for it. So does the BBC still have any role to play? Is it the BBC that need defunding? 0344 499 1000. I've just finished a 2-year contract working regionally at the BBC, and it was a baptism of fire. My boss said to me beforehand, it's the only job I've ever taken, and there's a whole set of reasons why I ended up doing this job, but I won't bore you with that. My boss said to me, it's the only time I've ever taken a job. And the boss apologised to me before I started. And it was kind of in a jokey fashion. He said, look, I'm really sorry, but you're about to enter a basket case of an institution. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you'll see for yourself. And of course, the strange thing, certainly my limited experience at the BBC, is that there are, I have to say, firstly, some really good people, okay? People who absolutely know their craft. Good producers, presenters, and I worked alongside some of the best. But there's also, across the BBC, a lot of dead wood out there. And I said to a boss once, I said, I could save you about £5 million right now. And she sort of laughed. She knew where I was coming from. This is one of the most senior managers in the BBC. No names, but she said, look, you can't just get rid of people. And I thought, well, there's your problem for a start. Because you should be able to get rid of bad people. And it kind of ties in, this Dominic Cummings purge on the civil service. It's precisely in that ballpark. Because people get awarded a job for life. And that's it. You've got the job for life. Nothing happens unless there's a round of redundancies, which come around once every decade and most people swerve them anyway. Then you're in. You've got a gold-plated pension that you couldn't buy if you trawled the high streets of this country for a millennia. You've got a salary that is guaranteed. The quality of your work is not questioned in any shape or form. And there is such a culture, and it took me a while to work this out, that the culture seemed to exist. It seemed to be about keeping everybody happy. A sort of managerial culture that was more concerned with keeping everybody happy. That appeared to be the kind of biggest reason for people getting out of their bed in the morning, to make sure everybody was happy. So this was a sort of a holding pen for other people's happiness. They would turn up in the bill. Nobody was ever questioned about quality of work. It was all about, is everybody okay? I don't want to tell people off because that might upset them in some kind of way. So everything's all right? Everything good? And it was that. It was astonishing. And I used to think, why are they congratulating mediocrity here? Well, they're positively congratulating bad work. I saw this time and time again. Nobody said a word. It was just an unreal situation. And people are just not good at their job. I'm not talking specifically about where I was, just across the network, who retain the gig. There's no questions asked. Well, you've been here for so long, we can't get rid of you, so we'll just keep paying you. And so when they talk about slashing jobs, I have to say, whilst I don't want to see my broadcasting colleagues out of work, not before time, frankly. Not before time. You can bet your bottom dollar it won't be the jobs that need to go. It'll be all the jobs you think, well, actually, you could have probably kept that and got rid of those 3 positions over there, because that's of no use at all. And one of the big things they're really wrestling with is this business of trying to chase the younger vote and spending, I don't know who it was I saw earlier, did I see it on Twitter somewhere? Or somebody mentioned the fact that, you're cutting all of these jobs and spending millions by advertising podcasts of reality stars on the sides of buses. That's what's happening. 100 million quid into the diversity pot. Remember that from the other day. I've always been a supporter, by the way, of the BBC, the concept of it. I worked there many times over those years, up until quite recently. But increasingly, it's kind of very difficult to sort of defend their existence in their current form. It's just really, really hard to look at it and say, look, there's Netflix over there, there's Amazon, there's Apple TV, there's the Disney package, there's a whole bunch of things you can get. And if you don't want, you can just go onto YouTube, for goodness sake, and keep yourself entertained for... I did that last night, funnily enough. I came home from work, ended up looking at something on YouTube, and before I realised it, 2 hours later, after I watched my 50th car chase, or whatever it was, you think, yeah, actually, do you know what? I didn't need anything. I was entertained in that respect. The money they spend on the regions is probably through the roof, and now we've kind of reached a stage where it's a little bit surplus to requirements in some respects. The only thing that really surprises me about this story today is that it's only 450 people. Now, that's 450 livelihoods, and that ain't big or clever, but there are other areas, and the good people, I promise you, the good people will find other ways to peddle their wares and get rehired elsewhere. But it's the broader question of the BBC. I mean, the Reggie Yates thing that he wrote, he was the writer, wasn't he, of the programme, was just... I just thought I can sit at 9 o'clock, prime time BBC, something you might stick on BBC Three if you're lucky. And you can see the commissioners, their minds working overtime, thinking, what could go wrong here? We've had Reggie do a few of those. I quite like some of Reggie Yates's BBC Three stuff. He did a few documentaries a few years back, and they were all right. He kind of had he had something about him that was accessible, and I sort of liked it. But then, of course, somebody comes along and goes, well, Reggie's he's kind of got the youth vote, and so maybe we should take a punt on this. And you're putting something in the slot that, Line of Duty would go in. You're trying to match it up to that? Come on. 0344 499 1000. Is it time to defund the BBC? How would you do if you were in charge of this license fee? What is it, 150 quid or something thereabouts? The license fee, roughly in that ballpark. That's the kind of money we're talking about. And what do you get that down to 50 quid? Come on, get it down to 50 quid. Is there another way around? You might want to get rid of the whole thing altogether and believe that the BBC has just kind of had its time, it's had its day. It's just almost impossible when you have so many other outlets to defend. And I promise you, if I could find a way to mount a defence of it, naturally I would do. We all would. But there really isn't one. There no longer is one when you consider the enormity of all of the other options that are out there in terms of viewing and listening. What you're listening to right now is not costing you a bean, okay? It's not costing you anything. So where are the BBC in all of that? Where do they sit in all of that? What's the relevance of the BBC today? Whether you look at their news angle, their entertainment angle, whether it's current affairs or drama, kids TV, whatever it happens to be, the website, the list goes on. The money spent is extraordinary. I promise you, there will be many areas they could save money. I'll shave off 500 mil like that. They won't listen. They'll go, what about the regional weather girl? Maybe she should go. No, think bigger. Think outside the box. You've got a Gaelic station that's costing millions. I think there might even be two in Scotland paying for this. I think there's a Welsh one too.